to working with square beads. So this is a portion that I've already made, and it uses square drills, and I like to work in sections. So I usually would have this section and then I would work on the next section. So I've already uncovered this portion, and this would be the next section that I'll be working on. I got a question on YouTube about how to get it clean, wherein you cut off areas that look clean instead of just ripping it off. So this is what I do. As soon as I'm done with a portion, for example, I am going to snip this off. But if you're gonna do that, you may have to lift a little bit of this part just to make sure that you're snipping it off neatly. So let me do that now. There you go. And then just kind of neatly stick it in place. There you go. Now you've got this neat section over here. So for me to have this portion neat as well, I actually lifted this entire bottom part up. I lifted it up this way, right? And after I drew a line here, I lifted it up and then just snipped off this part. And then I just folded it here on top. So this way I've got this neat section over here. And I'm just gonna do the same thing that I did here over here and repeat the process. So let's say, for example, I'm gonna start working on this section, right? I'm going to actually lift up this entire portion. I'll lift this up. And then that's how I'm gonna snip off the section that I want. So if I want this much, or half of this. So I'm just gonna lift it up and then cut it along the line that I've already drawn. That way it's neat, and then I just stick it back in place, and this part should be able to flip up. So that's how you can do it neatly. So there was another question of how to work with the square beads. So this is what I would do. Let's say I'm going to do letter T. This is actually flipped over. So this is a letter T, or an upside down T. So first you put your beads on your tray. Then you shake the tray. It's actually easier to get square beads flat as opposed to the round beads, because you can see the squares looking in order a lot better than the rounds. So now that we've got those in place, you get your drill pen. I'm using my purple flute drill pen. And when working with wax, some like to scrape it off. You can also kind of just press down and try to get that wax on the inside part of the drill. You may have some of this excess, and that's okay, so just kind of clean it up a little bit. And now you should have some wax in there. You don't have to fill it up completely, otherwise you'll end up having the wax stuck on the bead. Okay, so now you just press it down onto the square, and what I recommend is try to place your tray perpendicular to the squares that you're gonna be placing them on. So if you have your tray like this, when you pick up the bead, it's going to be shaped like a diamond, like this, and so it's gonna be difficult to kind of position correctly onto the grid. So you might as well either place it like this or like this. So let's say we're gonna do it this way. And make sure it's perpendicular, like in a straight line next to the area that you're gonna bead in. So let's say I'm gonna bead in this part, this T and these T's and that T. So I'm just going to pick up my square bead, and I'm going to try to place it onto the canvas as best as I can in the same location as the grid. There you go. It's more difficult to slide a square bead than a round bead onto the canvas. So you might as well carefully place it and have it as close to the grid as possible. Like so. And there you have it. We are now placing all the T's onto the grid. And as you can see, if you can kind of get the hang of it, it's going to be quite easy. It won't really feel as difficult. So it's just a matter of getting used to it and getting your own technique even to kind of work for you. So this is my technique. It might work for you, it might not, but this is what I feel works for me. And I feel like I can work almost as fast as I can with round beads doing it this way. Question that I received was how to use this end of the drill on a square diamond painting kit. So previously I've shown how to use this end of the drill pen for round beads, but now we're going to do it for square beads. And this is pretty much the same exact thing that you guys get, right? Nothing different with it except for this probably is for the 6 pieces of drills that can be picked up at once. There's another one where it's half of this, so it can pick up 3 beads at a time. And there's one that's more than this, which is the one that can pick up 9 beads at a time. So let's use this one. So I'm going to stick beads onto the letter C's, and that's this one over here. Okay. So first we're going to pour our beads onto the tray. Okay, and you can just get rid of that. Okay, these are just excess from the factory. So shake your tray. And then slant it slightly. Now that you've got those rows in there, you're ready to go. So we are going to place them perpendicular. And now we're going to put wax into this tip. So this is how you work with the long end of the drill. Okay, what I normally do is I press it down like so on the edge. So you press it down. That way you get to fill up the entire section. So if you feel like it's still kind of hollow, you can press down some more. This would be easier if I was on the table pressing it down, but since I'm pressing it down onto my finger, it had to take 2 tries to do it. So now that we've got the entire area, you see it? Entire area covered with wax. That's the pink stuff. Now we simply press it down onto the beads, and you have to do it in one swift motion, because if you kind of take your time, it will stick to it in a very random way, and so you might not get a straight line. So you have to do it in one swift motion. Believe that you can. There you go. So now we have a total of, how many is this? 6, 7. There's actually 7, huh? 7 beads stuck onto this in a row, and now we can place them all together in one swift move. My problem is, do I actually have 7 that I can place in? So let's say we're just gonna do this area. So I'm going to place it over here. And you have to do it the same way as how you picked it up. You have to do it in one swift motion. There you go. So sometimes it might be a little bit off center, and that's when you just kind of adjust it a bit. But that is how you do it. So let's say we pick up another one, and this is for the 4 sections. So I just want 4. See, this is what happens if you hesitate. You're going to get them just sticking like static in a random order. So you have to do it in one swift motion. So one swift motion, ready, set, go. Okay, and now we stick it. Okay, so it does take a little bit more effort to pick up multiple beads with the square ones. But it can be done. And remember, these square beads look very messy when you're doing them on their own, but as the beads kind of get compressed together and you fill up the entire area with the square beads, they're going to get compressed and they're going to look much like this, where everything looks pretty much straight. Okay, so you don't have to worry so much about that. So that's how you work with that. Let's do one more. Picking up 3 for a 3 section. There you go, picking up 2. There. So hopefully that helps. Now let us respond to a query about damaged beads. So sometimes you won't notice it, but you may be applying beads onto your canvas, but some of them may actually have some holes. And let me see the ones that I only noticed in broad daylight. Like for example, I don't know if you'll see this. I may need to use a different camera. Show you, but some of these have holes in them like this. See that? Which you have the option to replace or not. I mean, when you're looking at these diamond paintings from afar or even up close, you don't really get to see those imperfections. You get to see it because you're looking at it all the time. So if it really bothers you, you can change it with something else, which is the same color as that bead or the same code. But if it doesn't really bother you, you can just keep it as is. You know, for me, art has never been about perfection. It's about the end result, but it's never expected to be perfect. That's not what art is all about. It's about beauty and about making something look good, perfect, or imperfect. So hopefully that helps. Thing for today, somebody was asking what to do with excess wax. So let's say you're working on your diamond painting and you are applying way too much wax, right? So let's say you apply this much and you've got too much wax in there. Just kind of press it and then clean up the excess like so, and now you've got your area for drilling. So let's say you drill and you still get way too much wax. So let's say I put this in here and then I've got wax all over here. So you know what, let's actually do that, because I need to do that in areas where it's in between. But let's say you've got this much wax, right? You've got wax in there. What you can do is get one of these brushes or even get a toothbrush. You can have an old toothbrush, just make sure it's cleaned, or a new toothbrush. I'm actually using one that comes free with airlines when they have those little pouches that they give to you. So just kind of brush it like that. It's kind of like how you brush your teeth and get bits and pieces of food that are stuck in your teeth out. So you kind of just brush it. So even if you get some dirt or whatever onto your canvas, you can just kind of brush it. So long as your beads are glued in place onto the canvas, you shouldn't have to worry that it's going to get the beads to come off. See, as you can see, I'm actually brushing. So this is actually a good technique if you have your diamond paintings on a frame that is not in glass. You can kind of brush them every so often just to make sure that they're not collecting any dust. So hopefully these tips help you guys out.